What is going on, traders? This is Jack with the Trading Tribe. Really excited to bring a continuation type video today, carrying on our topic of when to get in, when to stay out of trades, and today we're going to be going through the other side, which is when to stay in trades. I think this is a really important topic, especially when you're day trading, because some of these moves can happen relatively quickly. So, especially on YouTube, a lot of the trading educators and stuff have different opinions on this. So, I figured I'd give my 2 cents so that we can move forward with that same strategy together. So when I am trading, and I think this is important to note that this is on a person-to-person basis, right? Everybody manages their money a little different, so this can be just preference-based. But from my strategy and my experience, especially when testing, there are some fine details to be aware of when picking to stay in or out of a trade. So if we look at natural gas today, it exemplified a pretty good example of this. So we'll stick on this chart. We can see that it was a pretty clear uptrend, right? Since it kind of leveled out at this 3.7 level for a few hours, since about 1 in the morning Central Time, it has began a big uptrend, right? Making higher highs and higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. And then through this final push, right, it made a higher high and a higher low. And this is really the main zone of the day that I was paying attention to because it was a high section on the chart or a resistance, and then it was a higher resistance again. And then it finally broke through that level. So typically how I trade is off of support and resistance key levels. So when it comes back to a significant level, quite like these two, I am very interested, especially when it's flipped the trend and has broken that level, because it tends to act as the opposite level on the next touch. So this was actually the trade I took. I took a trade right at 3.86, had a fantasy order that got filled, I think, on this dip. And as you can see, right, it took a couple hours to end up coming to target, and I got out a little early, didn't hold right until 3.92, but I got out into this final kind of push up to the target level. And I think it's really important to note that trades that can take multiple hours are tricky because, right, these shake out a lot of traders. You can see that it had a really big trouble and testing cycle in this zone. So for about a couple hours, right, it was really kind of hesitating at this zone, but it held it. And I think that is the main consideration when taking a trade or exiting a trade. If you are trading like I do, which is off price levels and price zones, it's all about what it's doing at that price. So in my case today, right, I entered in the trade right here when it dipped into that level for the first time. And as you can see, right, I had a stop loss 25 ticks below that entry, and I had a target about 600 ticks above that entry, or 60 ticks. And I think it's really important to note that even though it took a long time to end up working, because it held this zone and on this final dip came back and held the zone, that is why I held today. I think it's really, really important to focus on that because when you're trading, a lot of times, if something doesn't work right away, like it's done in the previous pieces of the day, it's pretty tempting to get out because you're in profit, right? So if I got in here and a couple hours later I'm only up a couple $100, it's really tempting to get out here because at that point, right, it wasn't really working. But you want to be really careful because it really was working, right? It came down to this zone that we expected and it held that zone. So even though it was pretty choppy, especially towards the end, where it just kind of stayed in this little pocket of pricing, it did hold, and that's a really good sign because that shows that other buyers are stepping in to support that price and eventually, right, push it back up to that range it went last time. So in this case, it was perfect. It went right above that high that it printed on the charts around 8:30 Central. But just again, right, a really, really important topic of when to give your trade breathing room and when to stay in your trade. I had a prior video of when to stay out of trades, and I think that is really important. But this other side, right, is just as important, right? Because if you get out of trades early, you miss out on entire moves. So you want to be very careful about picking your exits, and you really want to base everything on price action. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Please like and comment on the video if you have any questions, and we will see you next time.